Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio, place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born a Lot. And we got the man, the myth, the legend, the hardest working man in RBG land. Okay. We got the RBG trench worker up in here. We got the matter of fact, look, why am I showing me? Y'all ain't coming here. Look. Yep, you got the RBG track coach. We got the RBG motivator. We got the RBG educator. We got the RBG inspirer. You know, we got the RBG Baba. You know what I'm saying? We got the RBG brother. We got Tampa Bay's own. Okay. Down the street from Jackson Heights. Put your hands together and show your love for Aleous Kujichagulia. Sorry, if I had some music, I would put it on right now. The pen right there. Here it go. Here it go.
Peace and Black Power, family. Peace and Black Power. Hey, as always, thank you, brother Knowledge Born Allah, for having me in your building, in your space, and in your place, man. I'm ready to rock and roll today.
Maybe I would have put on some Trick Daddy when he came on. I don't know what this world gonna do, but I know one thing, that this is the life for me. My bad. I didn't mean to say mystical. You know what I'm saying? Put that trick there. I forgot. You know, you from Florida. You know, we mess around. How you feeling, man? How the fam feeling? How everything going, man? With all of everything that's going on, everything that's happening. There's whirlwind on top of whirlwind. There's whirlwind beside the whirlwind. There's whirlwind within the whirlwind machine. What's happening? Let me know what's going on.
Hey, brother, I'm feeling good. I don't get tired. You know what I'm saying? I just go and eventually I pass out. And then when I get up, I got to go again. You know, I rest when I'm dead. So, you know what I'm saying? My grind, I like to believe it's thorough. So I just, you know, I keep rubber the road and I just go. If things need to be done, you know, I'm gonna try my best to get it done. So that's how I rock. So I'm feeling good. You know what I'm saying? The family's great. You know, they wish they had a little bit more of me, but they understand, you know, the stakes. So they're behind this and us 100%.
Shout out to that African woman and that African tribe of children that you got, being patient with you and supporting you. And I saw one of the sons. Saw the way he looked at his daddy. He was proud. He was looking at you like, okay, I could claim you. I could claim you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big inspiration, big motivation. So aside from this conference, I want to talk about you. Like I heard you caveat with everybody, giving everybody their flowers, blah blah blah. You know, so your 50 caliber machine gun is today, because I ain't giving you no damn flowers. I got 50 caliber machine gun for you while you here, while you can use it. You see what I'm saying? So, what was it for you? What was your, you know, your start, your catalyst? How did you get, you know, started in this particular liberation lane?
I think, you know, I'm gonna go back all the way back to 1987. 1987, man, I had just got hit by a car. I was riding my bike, and of all places, I came around a church, and a car hit me. My head split open. I still have the scar right here. And from that, sorry, it's an Amber Alert on my phone. I apologize about that. From that, you know, I was staying with my mom at the time, and man, I was just like tearing, for the lack of a better term, shit up. I mean, nobody can control me, man. I'm just doing what the hell I wanted to do. My dad was back in Louisiana, you know what I'm saying, being the player that he was. And I just was out of control. You know, even when the car hit me, I jumped up and I'm just, you know, I want to get back on my bike, you know, because I was a little bit, you know, of a stony rock. And my dad was like, you know what, man, I got to get him. And I got to, you know, kind of hone this energy, you know, that he has. He was not a conscious man by any stretch of the imagination. So that summer, we at the end of the summer, I had some cousins come in from Louisiana, and we were outside, you know, playing some throw up tackle football. Well, my dad was the the quarterback for both teams. So, we messed around and lost. And when we lost, I lost it. I went ham, boy. I probably said some stuff I wasn't supposed to do. I got jacked up by him. I wouldn't back down. And he was like, dude, you crazy shit. That's what he said. These days, dude, you crazy shit. And I don't wanna mess you up. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna take you to play some football. So I'm like, what's that? He's like, well, that's what we just did. I'm like, okay, cool. So the first day I remember we went to football practice, man, and I'm just like, man, Dad, you cannot leave me. Around all these guys, in an environment, you know what I'm saying? You're seeing guys bigger than you and different things like that. It was just a new environment from a kid who was just always home with his mom, just running around the street, running around the house, what he wanted to do. But by the end of the day, I had tons of new friends, people who looked like me, people who thought like me, and people who are aggressive. I can challenge my manhood and different things like that. So I was sold. So the next day we go to practice, my dad stayed around the next day for practice. So as the practice ends, we ride home. And I'm looking out the window and I'm thinking to myself, how the hell am I gonna break it to this man that I don't need him at practice with me no more? Like, I got this, And as I play it back in my mind, I'm like, Dad, I got this, all right? You ain't got to say it at practice. And he kind of looked at me like, what? My son is utterly retarded. So, but he was like, but he got it. He was like, you know what? He's showing a little autonomy, a little, a sense of self. His soul rants was okay. So then we get ready to go start school because football here in Tampa and Little League starts way before the school starts, right? So he was like, listen, what I need you to do is every day you come home, not only do you have to do your homework, you have to read. Now, at this time, I was in second grade. I couldn't read yet, because it just the environment in which I was in before I came with my dad wasn't an environment that was conducive for learning, conducive for growth and development of an individual, let alone an African. And scholastics was not one of the things that was held at a high standard. So I was like, okay, what am I supposed to read? He was like, there's some books over there. And he didn't realize what he was giving me, but it was these old school, big Ebony encyclopedia books, right? And somehow or another, as I read it, a couple of things happened. I developed the ability to read and understand. But I fell in love with a people, man, that it seems to grow daily, and those people were us, because it was, like I said, those Ebony encyclopedias, man, and seeing the history of us being enslaved, and they really didn't go into detail, but seeing those pictures, and it was always sketches, and they would move you through that time of us being captured, the coffle lines, and they'll have the one design they have of us, on the slave ship. I can't think of the name of the slave ship off the top of my head. And then they will move through, our chattel enslavement, and to go through Jim Crow, and then you'll see that magnificent black man standing there, sitting in that Rolls Royce. It probably was a T model, but to me it was a Rolls Royce, sitting there looking regal, And I'm like, who is this man? So, just reading. So from that time, from second grade, it was just, I got introduced to us. Then on top of that, when I went to stay with my dad, I went to an all black everything elementary. Now this is a public school. It just was. It was Edison Elementary here in Tampa. I'm talking about, we had two principals in my stay there, both of them black. Assistant principal was black. The only white folks we had on our campus was the PE teacher and the music teacher. And I don't remember none of them jokers. But it was because I could articulate us, and because, I was pretty athletic, and, and people thought I was handsome. I mean, I think I am a little bit. But I always got the benefit of the doubt. But then I saw, you got cred, and you got, that attention from, banging on the books as well. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna do that too. So it was just that happenstance of, my dad understanding that, listen, only I can, rear him into manhood, that I got introduced, to us, and on this journey way back in 1987. So now, mind you, I felt like I was always knowledgeable of us, but I think that my articulation of that was relative to the age I was at. So if I was 7, I was articulating us at a 7-year-old level. And, as, we moved forward in time, that's how it always was. But it was always those environments, man, that I found myself in, that it was always us and I always flourished the most. So yeah, I think about 1987, 1987, probably June, and my dad was like, if you want to go to practice, you got to read. And those were the first books I ever put my hands on. And I wish I could find them, and just to have them, just to be, because I think I'm a bit of a bibliotech, just because, they mean so much. They have sentimental value.
I think we got the same books at the same time. My mother at that age, June of what? June of 87. I turned 7. You know what I'm saying? So my mother said, "Hey boy, ain't no Santa Claus, ain't no Easter Bunny, ain't none of that shit. I buy you everything that you get. Read these books. Jawanja Kinjufu's Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys 1 and 2. 7 years old. Here you go, boy. Get out my face. Happy birthday."
Right. But people, KBA, you laugh, but the thing about it is there's so many of us that don't understand that to get what we got to get, we got to study. You dig? And that's what we miss. We're so afraid if it's not, authorized or validated by Euros, Arabs, of Asians, we don't want them to do with that foolishness, because that's what it is. It's foolishness to those who don't know. But at the end of the day, that's what we got to do. We got to get in there. We got to understand that is where the intergenerational knowledge is housed. That's where the culture is housed. So if you want to tap into the blueprint, open the damn book. It's just that simple. It ain't no way around it. If you want to be able to have the armament to go out here and do battle with racism, global white terror domination, then you got to open the books. You got to understand, how they got here, who was involved with collaborating with them and what we got to do. I was just talking the other day, brother, and I know this is kind of off on a tangent, but I'm going to give it to you. I was telling somebody the other day, they were asking a question. It's like, well, what's important, the fight or the build? And I'm like, what are you talking about? You do those things in tandem. You do those things in unison. And I gave the example of the Euros here when they broke away, from their dirty ass cousins in Europe. I said at the end of the day, when George Washington and the boys, when they were battling the redcoats, they was laying redcoats down, but they still were building. The building process is the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and all that other paperwork which they use to validate their status in the world as sovereign. But they still did it while they fought. You can't separate those two, especially not for people who are trying to become sovereign. And I think that's where we get caught up. We get so caught up in the fact that, we want to be so scholarly. We need our scholars. We need their scholarship because they put things in the proper context. They have went back and fetched. So they brought it to us so that now we have these things that, okay, these are the tools and these are the reason whys. If you don't have those things, then you'll be out here just, whistling in the dark. So scholarship is important, but we can't be to the point, we can't be so scholarly that we think we're going to intellectualize our way to freedom, sovereign independence. I mean, we setting ourselves up for failure. But if we sit and we only build, we're wrong by that too. You understand? Because that's what happened in Rosewood, right up the street from where I'm at. That's what happened in Tulsa. That's what happened in Minton, North Carolina. Those places they built and they thought, okay, well, if we show that we can be productive, we show, that we can be self-sustaining, that Euro's gonna stay up ahead. That ain't how this goes. That ain't how this goes. Anything that Africans are doing, you got to be engaged in some level of treason. I shouldn't say that out loud, but it is what it is. If you're not sabotage, subterfuge, misdirection. When you think I'm gonna attack you high, I'm gonna go down low. These are the things that we have to be engaged in, especially here in America. It's only 50 million of us. It's 320 people total, or roughly here in America. So how in the hell are we going full frontal assault? We don't have the numbers for that, So, but when we don't do the due diligence of sitting down, cracking open those manifestos, those political manifestos left by our best and brightest behind enemy lines, we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're not preparing our children, to pick up the shield and spear so they can continue on. And we lose so much by thinking, it's one or the other, build or fight. No, they work in tandem. Until we get into a position of self-liberation, but I really believe you're still gonna be fighting in, unless you employ the final solution of Baba Kamu Kemba. I'm not saying what he said. I'm just saying, unless you employ that final solution, you're gonna be building and fighting forever, into perpetuity, until the light goes out on this pale blue dot.
If you are faced with terrorism, the only way to eliminate terrorism is to raise up some counter-terrorists.
What do they say? One man's terrorist is another man's national hero. Another man's national hero. So it's who do you want to be and who do you stand for? And me personally, I think about things like this right here. I'm going to live in ancestral realm far longer than I'm going to live in this flesh. Right. When my heart is weighed against the feather of Maya, I want to be accepted into the Gungun. I do not want to be devoured by Emet, because I know that's where my grandma going to be, and that's my dear heart. That's where my grandfather is going to be. That's where my dad is, and though that's my people. So that's who I want to rock with. I want to meet the original Zimbi. I want to talk with Jean-Jacques Dessalines and have a great conversation. So those are the things that I think about that motivate me, and that's why I say I don't get tired. I may function off 4 days of sleep. When I need sleep, I will go to sleep. I'll just pass out, and then I'll wake up when I'm trying to wake up, and it's time to go for a go. But that may be part of that football thing too. Football played a big part of my life, and we were always grinding, we were always banging. So that, and I know that's part of it. And then my flight like reflex is jacked up. And what I mean is, I don't know how to run away from things. Like Sister Trill would tell you, man, there was one time we was out at a little event here in Tampa, and the speakers were just lying to the audience. And I was in there with her, like 2 other ladies, my son, my oldest son, who was on the call the other day, and 2 other kids. And I'm just like, hey, y'all go outside. I'm gonna beat all their ass. And that's just how it was. I don't fear things like that. You can hit me all you want to, but at the end of the day, I'm going to break my hand hitting you in the face. I don't really talk about that kind of stuff, because what's the point? But you know what I'm saying? Let's bump. Because this is how I look at it. When you get physical, it's just communication without words. And when we get done, maybe whatever the communication barrier was will no longer exist. But I'm not going to come like that, because as an African person, I need to meet Africans where they are, first of all. And secondly, I feel like you said, I'm a trench worker. So therefore, I want to get those African people who don't know what we know, who have not become centered, but may want to become centered. But they have so much menticide that exists inside them that, it prevents them from listening. It prevents them, from getting their own way. But I don't like deliberate liars. I don't like deliberate deceivers. I don't like people, who are trying to do everything they can to use this platform, to use our plight in this existence as a means to, come up and, just continue the same foolishness. I have a problem with those type of people.
All of our cultural illustrations show either a sword or a stick. All of our cultural illustrations, they show a sword or a stick or some bow and arrows. It's there for a reason. We can't divorce ourselves from this concept. I see too many chumps running around, bookworming, think they're going to bookworm their way to liberation, They're gonna sing, they're gonna chant their way to liberation. Anything other than what it is, it's all encompassing. But if you don't get down, don't come around here. If you read the books, if you dare to do the agriculture, if you dare to do the politics, stay your ass over there and do it well. You come here where we are with that, we got something for you. I don't know who these other people are. I don't know who these people are that they talking about, these talented type of people. I don't know them. I don't come from them. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have that kind of essence. I don't know nothing about none of that. I don't know nothing about none of that other kind of way. To go along, to get along, to find your way in the system. And we need to work within the system. Or we need to overhaul the system and start a new one. I don't know none of them Africans. I ain't never met them. You understand? I read about them. I can spot that kind of behavior, but that's not it. We don't really deal with that right there. That's not it. That's not you. It would be, and they know not to come around. I don't even have to say the word of caution. They know not to come around. You understand what I'm saying? So in that essence, what comes around is supposed to be around. And if they ain't supposed to be around, they won't stay around. But we come from Africans who fight, who fought, and are fighting. We come from Africans that fight, who fought, and are fighting. That's who we come from on every particular front. We really got to get that because they want to create this society that exists where we ain't shed no blood. They're like, oh, the situation, we killing each other. We've been killing each other. Because we recognize who ain't amongst us, who ain't supposed to be there for us. You understand? Like, we recognize that. Don't show me in that Turner t-shirt if you ain't ready to do what Nat and Will did. Keep that shit to yourself. Keep it to yourself. You understand? Don't raise your fist up halfway with me. If it ain't fully extended, keep that shit down. Well, because it shows where you are. You know what I'm saying? It shows where you are. So I just wanted to say that, but I want to kind of get into the spirit for education. What got you into wanting to teach African children, and what was those experiences like for you in each level of your transition, whether it was public school, whether it was private school, whether it was charter school, whether it was homeschool? Kind of paint us that picture.
Okay, well, I think there was about 2 or 3 things that led me to teaching. First, like I mentioned, my grandmother. Man, my grandmother was a great storyteller. Everything. My grandma was born in 1936, and everything that became behind her, she knows. And we just sit in, her room sometimes when I finally got there, because this is my dad's mom. And she would just, tell me the stories about, her grandparents, who she was raised by, and their parents. And, that kind of resonated with me my whole life. Again, I think that also solidified my consciousness or my understanding that I was an African. And then I think, what really led me to education, like I wasn't headed this way. I thought I was going to be a millionaire, what I'm saying, standing on a star somewhere, scoring touchdowns or knocking the hell out of somebody. But that wasn't the case. So after college, it was like, what's next? And by the time I graduated college, I had 3 children. I had my first daughter at 16. And just sidebar for a second, how some people, I've always, like I said, I've always had a bit of an African-centered consciousness. Like my daughter, her name is Asiane Ashanti Magnolia Indigo. Why do I give her so many names? Well, Asiane, she's named me because I'm Aleous. Ashanti, because I wanted her to have some of that history on the other side, of the Atlantic. Magnolia is my grandmother's name. Like I said, that's my dear heart. And then, Indigo, I wanted her to understand some of the horrors and traumas we went through, because that was one of the things we harvested when we got over here, when we were kidnapped and brought over here. Then, my oldest son, he's Aleous Marshall. Marshall, I can't throw away Marshall, because Marshall, though it's a European name, that's my great grandfather's name. And then my middle boy, his name is Omnius. He was named after Idi Amin Dada Kamar. That's a combination of his mother's father and grandfather name, then it's Clarence Leroy. Clarence is my mother's dad, and Leroy is my dad and my granddad. So I kind of hit two birds, one stone. And my thinking was I wanted them to be able to tell their story as they sat down when I'm, have made my transition, and tell their story of our family with their names. I wanted them to be able to teach. So when I got out of school, football didn't pan out. But honestly, I think that was the ancestors working through me as well, because the way I played, I would have probably ended up with CTE. One of my coaches who played in Philadelphia, the late great Andre Waters, he had CTE and ended up taking his own life. But the way I played with reckless abandon. And like I said, I just wanted to really just, I really enjoyed just like hurting people. I don't know why. I just felt good. It was legal. I think I'm going to have a little bit of a homicidal ness, if that's a word. But anyways,
that's good. That's a good word.
When I graduated from school, man, it was like, you kind of look around. It's like, what do I want to do? I didn't want to really be in business like that. I really didn't want to, I don't know, I really didn't want to, so I'm like, okay, what is it that I do well? So when I'm around little ones, I've always able to connect with them on a level and, get the best out of them. So I'm like, okay, cool. My children were going to a private school at the time, King's Kids Christian Academy, all Black. And they needed a teacher. I was fresh out of school, and I ended up getting the kindergarten class. Man, I ain't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know nothing from nothing. But, those parents, they trust me with those babies. I found myself studying a lot, and I ended up, being serious. And I think I ended up getting that job because the owner, director, didn't really know that a religious studies degree was not a Christian degree. It was a, broad look at religions, all across the world. And that's what my undergrad was in. My undergrad is in communication religious studies. So she just thought, she thought she had a preacher, but I was far from a preacher. That didn't go too well because I always wanted to be a reader. So I've always been engaged in reading, 1987. So one day, it's a picture on Facebook. You can go check it out. I'm reading the Torah. And she wasn't really hip to know that, well, the Torah is like the first 5 books of Moses, which is the first 5 books in the Bible, was the book that they read every Sunday. So, she threw a hissy fit about it. I think I lasted 1 more year, so I had to get up out of there. So I did like 2 years in private. I thought I had a great experience. Most of those parents I still talk to today. Most of those babies are doing really well. They definitely can read because that was my thing. So it was always good to teach the babies to tap into their truest human potential. I will say this. Those first 2 years, I didn't bring Africa into the classroom with me, but it still was a great experience. Then I went to this charter school, man. It was a mess. This charter school was called Anderson Academy. Their logo was a Sankofa bird. The school colors were red, black, and green. I'm like, man, I don't mess around and fell off in heaven. I was feeling so good about it. I was just like, this is going to be the place where I'm going to retire. I'm never going to leave this place ever. The place was ran by a lesbian. And when I teach, I come with strength. I want my boys to see a great reflection, and I want them to be strong. I'm going to confirm and affirm all of my girls, because they're my daughters at that point, their sense of self-worth and their beauty. And they're going to know what a man is if they don't have one, or their dad is soft, weak, or simps. So therefore, I came with it. So the principal put me to the side one day. She's like, Aleous, what I need you to do is tone it down a little bit, because when you teach our babies to and she was talking about the boys, when you teach our babies to be strong like that, the police gonna get them. So I'm like, wait, what do you mean? I say, Euros, Arabs, and Asians, they kill us for anything or nothing at all. It's not about the strength we display. It's about their psychopathic racial personality. So we had this debate, and she was just, hell-bent on holding her line. But what ended up making me leaving that school, and that was the first assignment I ever left before I completed the year, is because they somehow got their payroll messed up. And I know I don't know what happened behind closed doors when Kujichagulia went there with them people. I just know that he was the only one that got paid, and then he left, and the other teachers didn't get paid for months. I don't know what he did, but he was crazy as hell. So anything could have happened. Then he went to this. I ended up at this little school, man, called Walton Academy. I teach there now too. And this was another place. It was a slice of heaven, man. If you're in the Tampa Bay area and you want to be a place where your babies won't be psychologically assaulted, mentally assaulted, physically abused, and you want a real family environment, bring them on over to Walton Academy of Performing Arts, because we'll take good care of your babies. All of my children attended this school, and I will say this: all three of my oldest are in college or have completed college. So that's the kind of foundation we lay there. So, I stayed there for a while, and I said, you know what, I want to try my hand at public. Man, I don't know why I did that foolishness. They sent me out to the most whitest white part of the city. It's called New Tampa, and I was at this place called Liberty Middle School. Man, every day I dreaded that place. It was the worst place on earth to be. I was teaching one of my favorite subjects, science, but it just sucked, man. One of the things that I really have a hard time with is being an intellectual mammy. There are a lot of skills I've picked up over the years, and I want to share those with people and children who look like me. I want to help us be our best selves. So when I get, around other people, I kind of I get fidgety and antsy, because I feel like, what I'm saying, I'm helping them, further enslave us. Yes, we do have e-learning at Walton Academy. Go to the website, Walton Academy of Performing Arts. Make sure you do the online application, and we'll get squared away. Tell them Aleous sent you. So, but I stayed there, man. And at the end of the year, this was the most messed up thing I remember about that experience. And y'all may have heard it because it was a national thing. This lady had went crazy over there, because these are kind of Euros I was dealing with. The lady had went crazy there. She goes and she shoots and murders her 2 children. Now, her husband was some big well-to-do in the military. This Euro female says she murdered her children because they were being too mouthy. Now, Luke Bo was in my class, and he did talk a lot, but I don't think he murdered the Joker. So she murdered a man, and everybody was doing some type of visual and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, hey, Al, you should stand. I'm like, man, I got to go home. I was on the other side of town. And I hit it. And that was the last time they saw me, and they were just like, man, oh my God. So the principal, he tried to call me, but I'm like, there's no need for you to call me. But then I went to another public school. I was teaching in high school. So I've taught everything from kindergarten to 12th grade. So I went to the school, Middleton Senior High School. And to be honest with you, the vast majority of the population was Black, but they have a magnet program, but it's mixed. But it's the vast majority of those students are European or Asian. And that was a horrible experience, because most of the teachers there, I shouldn't say teachers, but most of the administration there is there trying to use that instance or use that job opportunity to further themselves. So they didn't really give a lot for the baby. So when you mentioned Jackson Heights, well, Middleton is in Jackson Heights. And so, I thought you knew what you knew. So, but the people in Jackson Heights, man, here in Tampa, they suffer from a lack of resources, knowledge of self, self-confidence, self-awareness, and so on down the line. So, they need a place. One would think it would be the high school, but it's run by our enemies. So it aids in the degradation of that specific community. So I had to get up out of there, man. And I think I taught at this one place, which was the same thing. It was Just Elementary, which is in West Tampa, which is another place, you know what I'm saying, that's really, really, economically depressed, repressed, and oppressed. Though right now they've totally went through there and just gentrified that whole damn area. Like if you came to Tampa right now and I took you to a Tampa, you're like, wait a minute, that's not what you just told us. I'm telling you, I can show you pictures, and this place has done like a 180, and it's not what it was. They totally, moved out all of the African people to the outskirts, and they've came back in and taken over the city. But that school was another place. The principal now is transitioned, may peace be upon her. But she was a negress. I mean, she was terrible, man. I mean, I've seen this lady get all giddy and coy when Euros come around. And I think she really didn't like me because at that time I was committed to having, Africa in the classroom with me. I was committed to living Africa. So, after those bad experiences, man, I say, me and my wife sat down and said, you know what, we need to go ahead and do this homeschool thing. We have to be in total control of, the information we're disseminating. We have to be in control of the information that our children are getting, because we understand what's at stake. we're trying to make sure that our children understand who they belong to and the work they must do. So we started that, man. We did a homeschool co-op. I was a lead for about 7 years. I got a call at the end of those 7 years from one of my brothers I played ball with at USF. And one of the teachers had gotten in trouble. So he was like, Chambers, man, I need you to come, wobble with us for a little while in the classroom. And I was kind of hesitant at first, but I was like, you know what? My brother called me. He must need me, because he's not just going to call me randomly. Like, we didn't have a relationship like that. So, I stepped up, man, and went and taught at this school here in Temple Terrace. It was a charter school. I won't even mention the name. If you're looking for a school, make sure you in Tampa, make sure you head over to Walter, the Academy of Performing Arts. So I taught it for about 2 years, and then my wife was like, I want the babies to have a little bit more socialization. What do you think about WAP? I'm like, WAP is real solid. So then I'm going back there. So we're there now, and it's funny because a lot of the things that I tried to introduce when I first got there, 10, 12 years ago, they were totally resistant to. But now it's time. When you're ready, you're ready. And now the time has moved. They've implemented a lot of those things. Like, we have way more cultural infusion of us now. We have a vocabulary parade where, you have to dress up, like famous people, in our past. Like, I think I shared the picture where, my son was Marcus Garvey, 2 years ago. We do a wax museum where the children have to dress up as African people, and they have to display these things. They allow, us as teachers to bring these different things, into our classroom. I have probably a 5-foot picture of Jean-Jacques Dessalines on the wall, and there's things that we talk about. I have African proverbs all around the room, because of people without proverbs, they're weak. So yeah, man, I just think that the education was thrust upon me out of like, what was the next transitory move for me once I got done playing. But since then, I went back, I got a degree in educational leadership, and I did that because I wanted to be a little bit more validated to others. And then I went and got a master's in behavioral management, because I wanted to understand the mind. I wanted to understand the mind a little bit better, and I wanted to understand it. I understood that going to take those classes and studying that, I would better understand how they interact with us, how they shape different programs and platforms for us. But we think that we are part of their system, so we don't understand that. I'll make it plain. We don't understand that that the Skinnerian rat was the African. We don't understand that the Pavlovian dog, was the African. So, when we understand those things, I think that we can, move better. I think I'm done though with education. I know I'm never going back. I mean, I have no knock against someone that has a PhD. I mean, I appreciate and I respect the due diligence that those put in, but that's, I think I'm done at this point. I have 4, and I'm good with that. So, that's solid. But that was my educational odyssey, so to speak. Now, let me tell you this though. But there were other instances of, like, I guess, not necessarily structured education, but just like different things, like picking up different crafts. When I was younger, my dad was like, "Hey, you want to learn how to fight?" So I think I want to say I boxed for like 3 years. I took TKD. Man, I still train. And we know the jujitsu. But in learning those things, I was just always adamant about sharing those things with other people. I don't want to share. I don't want to teach them nothing. I don't want to give them nothing that I've learned. But any African person, they can come and they can rock with me. Now, I will say this, African people, I'm a welcome you with open arms, because that's how I am. But you got one time to burn me. Because that's your fault if you burn me. You burn me twice, that's my fault. Because I'm not really into that. I'm not really into, prejudging anybody, because I do understand when swimming in the sea of insanity, we all get wet. I learned it from Baba Baruti, one of the, what they say, the premier, the premier scholar of the 21st century. I need to get my life together. But that's just because I'm dehydrated because of that 100-mile challenge, that 100-mile, that Black August. 100-mile challenge that I hope everybody's engaging in, so they can resurrect themselves, so they can, be the best African selves at the end of this, so you can, get connected with the universe again, and really, hear that ancestral wisdom that's washing over you. When you get out there and you get the sweating and you get that sun, and you dropping those pounds, all those inhibitors that we put in our body with the preservatives and the things we're not supposed to be eating and drinking, too much smoking of anything. I don't smoke, I don't drink, but I ain't judging nobody. That's why I look so good, because people might say, they don't realize when I tell them I'm 40, they be like, well, you 41? I'm like, yeah, I'm old. But it's because, I'm usually always grinding. I love it. I love that burn. I'm fat right now, but I guarantee I'm already down 10 in 3 days. I'll be down about 225, here shortly. But I love that burn. I love it. I love that pain. It just makes me feel alive. But also, I think I've kind of made up in my mind that, no pain that I can ever experience could ever rival the experience, the pains that our ancestors experienced. I think about things like that, like all the time, like, the transatlantic shark, or the shark that's in the shark that's in the Atlantic. Marine biologists say that shark still treks, the track of the transatlantic slave trade. And then I think to myself, how many Africans had to litter the ocean for sharks to have their migratory pattern changed? You're talking about nature, universe, God, if you will, instituted instinct being changed by mere man. That's deep. So, when we talk about reparations and stuff, that's a weird conversation to me, because I don't necessarily know the price of a dead baby. And now you're talking about, tens of millions of dead babies. I don't really know the price of that, because when you're talking about reparations, you just can't be talking about, the labor part. Reparations, as Dr. Collar said, is the repairing of the damage. So if you want to repair the damage, blood debts got to be paid in blood. Somebody has to pay the price, for that. And don't tell me that, well, I wasn't the one that enslaved you. Yeah, but you still, exist and stand upon, that residual wealth, or that generational wealth that was created from that labor, and created, from those maniacal, diabolical acts. Excuse me. But also, I know that you still engaged in our outright chattel enslavement. I mean, if you look close, you'll find it. The Arabs still doing it. So if you think the Arabs, are doing it in euros not, then you're sadly mistaken. I mean, I think it was in 2004, they, some euros actually went and bought, it was one of those supposed, undercover exposés. But I mean, you can look all this up. So, it's when we start talking reparations, that becomes a very weird conversation to me, because I don't really understand like how it fits. It's almost, again, like we're trying to intellectualize, ourselves to some type of freedom. How much, is a hand that was cut off in the Congo because that person didn't harvest enough rubber? Like, what's the reparations of that? If they say Cecil Rhodes used to take little boys and rape them, and when he got done, he would throw them off a cliff. What's the reparations on that? You dig? So I get kind of like weirded out when we start talking about reparations and we don't discuss those things. The only thing we want to talk about, is the work. But I know what it is. It's still that global white terror domination at play, because it makes you not want to face the atrocities. It makes you not want to think about, Africans being boiled alive, Africans, being torn to shreds by dogs, Africans, if they're hungry, they might steal a biscuit, and then someone comes and sits in a rocking chair and rocks until all of their teeth have been ground to paste or dust. We don't want to have those conversations, because they make you have to become, a little bit more accountable. So, it's safe to talk about, well, the amount of work that we put in, then you try to intellectually, run down, the price of, the tea in China. And that shit it weirds me out because I don't get it. You know, I don't get how we get there and forget everything else. You know, I don't understand how we, you know, don't, you know, ask for reparations for the coffle lines. You know, you talking about Africans who tracked over 1,000 miles, you know, from the interior to, you know, or from the hinterlands to the coast. You dig? You know, you talk about as they trekked, you know, over 1,000 miles, you know, wild animals would just let some pass because they were just, you know, so overstuffed with Africans. You dig? I don't understand how you talk about reparations, but you don't talk about, you know, the things that they destroyed in the University of Timbuktu and Senko. Take it even further back. You don't talk about the things that they destroyed at, you know, Epidasip, you know, or the University of Alexandria. You don't talk about those things. And I don't understand it. I mean, just think about that. You know, you're dealing with, you know, a group of people who indiscriminately killed so much that there's works of art we'll never know. There's songs we'll never hear. You know, there's mathematical equations that may be millennia or eons before they ever return because they got to come back with that specific ancestor. So, you know, we don't like to talk about those things, and I get weirded out because I'm just like, well, I don't really want to talk to you. And that's why when it comes to me, I try my best to find solid Africans. I try my best, and that's why, you know, when I hear and I read, you know, Baba Waliamu Baruti, you know, I can trust him because he's clear on that. You know, he's not playing these, you know, intellectual games. He's not looking for any type of trinkets or rewards or anything like that from them. You know, he's trying to make sure that I get it, so my children can get it and their children can get it. Because like Brother Omawali just said, this is, though I know we can win in our lifetime. The Haitians proved that, right? The Haitians whooped 3 European hordes, 3 of them. They whooped the French. We know they whooped the French. Okay? We know they whooped the French. But they also, you know, whooped the hell out of the British and the Spanish, right? And they did that in their lifetime. You dig? So we can do it in our lifetime too if we really about that life, right? But we understand it's a long and mighty walk. You know, they say when you come across, you know, an African reed and it's bent in one direction, to get it to stand up straight, you got to bend it in the other direction longer than it was bent in that direction. So I get that. Okay. So it's going to take some time for us to fix ourselves. But when I look out and I'm seeking out Africans who I can learn from, I need people who are clear, and I'm listening for specific things. When you begin to intellectualize your reason and trying to make it not that bad, like you mentioned Kunjufu, and I'll say this online because I mean I don't care. I don't read Kunjufu because in his book, Black Students, Middle Class Teachers, he says this: the greatest ally that African boys have here in America in the classroom is white teachers, white female teachers. That's what he said. And my thing is, it's like, well, Emmett Till not a real thing? And that's what I say to myself, you know, and it's just like, I don't understand how we, you know, how we make those connections. I don't understand how, you know, how we get, I don't get it. You know, I don't understand how other scholars, they fight till everything on the line. Do you get old? All of a sudden now the reward is, well, my child or my grandchild went to college. I don't give a damn if my children going to college. They all going. But at the end of the day, you know, that's not a win. That's not even a concession. That's, first of all, that's part of the process because their school is not that hard. That's one. Okay. 2, I'm not going to sit here and act as if, you know, if they receive a modicum of education, that all of a sudden the fight for them has ended. Nope. In fact, it should increase. It should accelerate because you have more to bring to the table to the people. So therefore, you better be ready to bang. That's how I look at it. I don't understand how, you know, you could be, you know, out here, you know, banging with the police, you know, carrying a gun in the street and a law book, then you selling barbecue stuff. I don't get those kind of things. It's like, how do you stop? You know, like what is it like? Were you just playing, or were you just kind of going through the motions? You know, and that's why, like, it's I get weirded out by those things. I don't understand how, like, now, trust me, do I understand that Euros will employ everything they have at their disposal to break us? 100%. But let's talk Black August. They couldn't break George. They couldn't break the dragon. They couldn't break the dragon. In fact, because he was such an unbreakable African, you know what I'm saying? He infused that into his 17-year-old brother, Jonathan, the man-child. You dig? So it's one of those things where I don't get that weirdness of, you know, everybody looking for a concession, or everybody want to just run off into spirituality, or everybody want to eat, you know what I'm saying, vegan, like that's gonna mean something, or get your chakras in line. That's part of it. And you know, you want to be, you know what I'm saying, in a situation where, you know, you are centered to a certain degree. You want to have a measure of peace. But if you think for 1 second that bullets and bombs aren't going off by your head every time you turn off that TV, you're mistaken. And that's what 100 years in a whirlwind is focusing on. You dig? The focus is resistance education. We understand that Black August started in 1970 when Jonathan went into the court and say, I'm taking over now. I'm in charge. I love it. I'm taking 17. Then in 71, when his brother said, we out of here. 78, they still playing the same stupid games. 79 was the first celebration. But in my opinion, I really believe that there's so many things that happen in August that you have to add it to it, and makes it more full. It brings it more to life. If you leave the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey in the first UNIA conference out of August, then you miss something, to me. If you leave, you know, the celebration of Fred Hampton Sr., our chairman, out of Black August, you're missing something, to me. When the immortal prophet Nat Turner began his most holiest work, if you leave that out of Black August, then you're missing something, to me. When the Haitians, you know, had that ceremony down at Alligator Cove to get busy, and they evoked, you know, the spirit of the irritated genie. If you leave that out, you're missing something to me, right? So all of those things, all of those instances, and all of those people were engaged in resistance. So that's why our focus at 100 Years in Whirlwind is resistance education. We have to put that up. We have to understand that we have to resist. We got to resist this dumbass pandemic or plandemic, however you look at it. I personally know people with COVID. They got something. But we have to put up something. We have to give our people a viable alternative to going to brick and mortar, or just your reason and miseducation and diseducation in general. So that's what this is about. We have 5, 6 African-centered homeschools, which will be in attendance at 100 Years in a Whirlwind. And what are they doing there? They're letting you know, first of all, they're gonna give great presentations. You know, they're gonna get you fired up. They're gonna get that African spirit moving and grooving. But at the end of the day, they say, hey, listen, family, we're family. Come on, bring your babies over here. You're gonna have a whole slew, a whole spectrum of different African personalities to see which one you jive with. You know, so you come on through so you can see which one that you want your babies at, if you don't want them here with me in Tampa. So come on, so because all of them have taken the time to take their curriculum, they went virtual. They've taken the time to take their instruction, they went virtual e-learning from an African-centered perspective. All people on earth have institutions that speak specifically to them culturally and racially. And Sheikh Anta Diop said, race is culture. You see? So come see what these we have African centered homeschool. That's one of our institutions that will be in the building. We have Ekobin Institute. That's one of the African centered homeschools that have went virtual that will be in attendance. We have Kamali Academy, Freedom Home Academy, Uhuru Academy, South Carolina. These people have done the work. And not only have they done the work, all of these people have made sacrifices for me and you, for our children. So they went and got that information. And they could have been intellectual mammies. They could have went and gave all that they've learned to someone else. But they say, nah, I ain't with that. But you think about all the other areas of people activity. So yes, we're focused on education, but don't get it twisted. We got African scholars that are talking about economics, entertainment, health, labor, law, religion, sex, and war. And never get it twisted. We are at war. We have over 30 world-renowned African Center scholars that's going to be in the building. 5 continents. We're going to string from 5 different continents. From what I understand, this is the first time this has ever been done. All right. Yes, we're in North America. Yes, we're in South America. Yes, we're in Europe. Yes, we're in Asia. And you know I had to leave mama for last. But so understand, we've done the due diligence to bring a global outlook and perspective to you. But make sure you're in the building around the globe, so it's a truly Pan-African experience. You know, we have spoken word artists. The South got something to say, because most of our spoken word artists are from the South. You dig? Florida, Georgia connection. Florida, Georgia connection. And then the whole thing, because for every movement, for every revolution, there has to be a soundtrack. And them brothers United Front, the Vanguard, rocking that African insurrection music, man, they're going to set the tone Friday with an album release party. And you might, what you going to do album release party? Because they got a new album coming out, Harriet Shotgun. You either get with it and get free or get shot by the shotgun. It's your choice. The choice is yours. You know, then they're going to come back Sunday with the brother Knowledge Born Allah, and they're going to talk about that aim. Like you tell you, going to show you how to group. Make sure you squeeze the trigger and don't pull it, because you'll jerk the gun that way. So this thing, man, it all goes together to the original question, which was, how did I get into education? Because it's all this is about. And, you know, I think I got into education because first and foremost, I wanted my babies to be free. But secondly, I wanted any children who come around me to be free. I wanted all of our children to understand, because that's one of the rules. And like I said, people who have been on the platform that know me, they'll tell you, I don't play games with it. If you're going to be around me, you will know Africa. If you bring your babies around me, you will know Africa. I don't do the N-word. I might curse a little bit every now and again, but I don't do the N-word. I don't do the B-word. You can miss me with all that foolishness. Because matter of fact, how about this? In 1920, at the first UNIA conference, the most Honorable Marcus Garvey said, don't use it. So what else is there to say? What else is there to say? What is there to debate? What is the exchange? What do we need to talk about? Because it was white so-called Jews who said use it as a term of endearment. So who should you have stirring in your mind and coming out of your mouth? Who are you the child of? You dig? So I mean, that's just my walk, man. I want us to be strong. I want us to, you know, to always be pushing toward sovereign liberation. Like Brother Bomani just said, Brother Omawali just said, you know, this is a long and mighty walk, you know, and it's going to take time. You know, one of the books that will really put this in perspective, you know, if I had to offer you some reading, 2000 by, you know, Aikwe Arma. He says in his last chapter, you know, sometimes people get in this fight and, you know, you'll see where they are by where they stop. You know, this thing goes from the cradle to the grave and hopefully beyond, because the impact that you make will be that it will be lasting. So if I'm a, you know, strikingly upright Black man, you know, standing on Black power manhood, then I'll be that, you know, once I've transitioned, because I will live as that in the minds of the people that I've impacted, affected, and effected. You dig? So, I mean, that's why I think, you know, I do what I do, because, you know, I want somebody to erect altars to me. You know, I want to, you know, extend beyond, you know, this flesh in the physical realm. But to do that, you know, I know the work has to be put in. That's one of the reasons why we started the track team. You know, I used to coach for someone else, and their team was a Christian track ministry, which is hard because I mean, yo, we were like really African while I was there. I mean, we used to bring, the doom dooms to the meet, and we would be able to get down. We had watermelon. I mean, we were like a real African village when you saw us, but we couldn't really be African because we were under somebody else's banner. So when my older children transitioned out of high school and went on to college, and the babies was coming up, I'm like, I'm starting my own. So the name I chose was the Dreptomaniacs TC. Well, if you know Samuel Cartwright, he came up with dreptomania being a sickness or a fever that Africans would get, which caused them to run away. They didn't run away because our enslavement was wrong. We would run away because we got sick and and we just run, right? So I'm like, you know what? I think that would be a very fitting name. It's kind of like those double entendre type deals, because I want you to get sick. I want you to get that fever, and I want you to run. You know what I'm saying, with the spirit and strength of the ancestors. And then when we decided on the colors, we had to go with the red, the black, and the green, because the blood that we must shed, for the beautiful, magnificent African people, and for the land we must free. So we had major success, but my thinking was, or the design of the team was, we can't necessarily have a rite of passage program, because first of all, we can't live within the cultural matrix, which is here in Tampa, because we don't have anybody else's backing us. There may be people, but I don't know them. Reach out to me if you about their life here in Tampa. But I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I just don't know people that's about their life. They want to be all inclusive, or they want to compromise, and you can't do that around me. So it's pretty much not really safe to be around me if you like that, if you're dealing with children. So I say, you know what, I'm going to really focus on habits of character. What are habits of character? Habits of character are things like perseverance, determination, self-control, indomitable spirit, bravery, courage, initiative. And through track and field, you can teach that. You can teach family. You can teach, that self-sufficiency, that self-reliance, but also your actions, will have a great impact on what you do, on your impact by what you do on the track or in the field. So man, we went out there and we really did well. That first year we took 5 babies to nationals. I'm talking about babies. I think our oldest kid was like 8, and we ended up coming back, with 6 national medals. Now that's a little bit of a misnomer, because my middle girl got 3 of the medals and my son got 1. But yeah, other people got medals too. But but that was our focus. We really wanted to have something that this distinctly African. And when you see us, you see Africa. And you can be successful doing that. And from my opinion, I think that that's one of the things that will make us more attractive. We have all these talents within the community. We've honed all these crafts, yet and still we don't put them on full display as we should. We have people who can teach chess, and they can teach chess to the point that you can have skilled players who will be masters. Take those jokers to the tournament so they can bang on them Euros. Take them jokers to the tournament so they can bang on them Arabs and Asians. It attracts more African people to you. But when you stay in the fringe, or you stay hidden and thinking that you can't compete in a greater society, I think that that's one of the things that make African people stay away from us. So from my perspective, I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm gonna put my jokers out there, and we ready to go to war. We ready to wobble. And, I stand on that. And that's how it's always going to be. I'm never afraid of a fight. I don't know. I like to fight, whatever it is. I like to fight. Me and my wife get into it because I'll just pick a fight with her. Not now, follow me when I say this. So I'll pick a fight with her and be like, man, you hating on me. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I just go on this whole rant, and I just use it as motivation. And she's like, you are totally insane. I'll be like, pretty much. But I just use things like that to motivate me to go harder, to go in deeper, to make sure there is no stop in me. Because when I stop, somebody will gain on me. And I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about them. When I stop, my pursuit of them, I have to double up. So, you got to keep pushing forward. But that's one of the reasons why, again, it goes back to Baba Balima Baruti. Everything that man has written and he has published, and my family has read every single book that he's written. I'm not gonna come in and say, well, I missed 2, I missed 1. He'll tell you, nope, Every single thing he has written, we have read, we have studied, we restudied, we go over it again, we go over it again, we go over it again. And it's because, that is the thing that also helps fuel me. There's certain scholars I think that they should have a permanent home in all African homes. Baba Bulima Barudi is one. Ike Wiarma is another. Dr. Amos Wilson is another. I mean, I think that if you just read those three Africans, you have a clear understanding of what we got to do, the things that we face. And it is a Memnonian task, but I mean, I think that we are definitely ready for that. When we worry about, being objective and, considering others, again, what I'm saying, we're causing a gap between where we need to go and where we are. Do the work. Do the work. People may say, well, what is the work? Well, first, like I said, I think the work goes back to study, man. You got to understand, how we got here. You got to understand, who our enemies is. I'll give an example. One of the major beefs or things that, again, weird me out is how people say, well, Chambers, Kuji, what is your position on, the Latinos? What's your position on them? And I say, who, the Spaniards? And they be like, yeah, they speak Spanish. I say, okay, you mean the Spaniards? I say, well, there's three people that spoke Spanish: the conquistadors, the Africans that they enslaved, and the product of the rape that the conquistadors engaged in with the Africans. Now, I feel I can say that confidently because my grandmother's mother on my mother's side was an African who came from Cuba. She was an African who spoke Spanish. You did? So when I say, well, you did take geography, right? And they be like, yeah. I say, well, where is Spain? And they be like, Europe. I say, so okay. So if Spain is on Europe, wouldn't that make them European? Yeah, but the Spanish, man, they really love our culture, I say, wait a minute. I actually say, you ever heard of the Asiento document? And they'd be like, nah. I say, well, the Spanish were the first European horde that outlawed reading of enslaved Africans, reading and writing. It's the Asiento document. Look it up. I ain't lying to you. So it's like we get so wait. Before we get confused. But how about this? The Spanish were the second European horde in the game. The Portuguese were first. The Spanish were right behind them. So it's like, how do you get so, duped and then not knowing who's who and what's what, and then you start pulling allies and ain't allies. And I'm not talking about mulattoes, because some mulattoes, they are more about that life than some blue black Africans. Dr. Clark said that, and it must be true, because he said it. But the thing that I guess I have an issue with is when you see, Spanish folk who look like a conquistador, and you trying to, develop some type of alliance with them. And I say, well, you know what? You don't have to go back to ancient history. Let's look at Saint-Domingue. All right, Saint-Domingue today is Haiti and Dominican Republic. If the Haitians go over to Saint-Domingue right now, the Dominican Republic right now, they'll probably be murdered. They'll be hacked to death with machetes by the so-called Spanish of Saint-Domingue. Of Dominican Republic. So I don't understand, how we miss those things. I don't understand how, we just totally just delete things that happen, that are historical, and to the point maybe even be current, and we just leave it all there. I don't understand this love affair, with this Asiatic, black man thing. It's like, well, wait a minute. When you say Asiatic, you talking about them Japanese and you talk about them Chinese, ain't you? And you find out, if you let them talk, that that's what they're talking about. And then what happens, it's like, well, wait a minute. Then the Chinese used to get us, they used to buy us and catch us and stuff like that. And they used to say stuff like, because we were African, we could breathe through our eyelids, and they would have us cleaning the barnacles from underneath their ships and crazy like that. And, Africans were dying by the hundreds, if not thousands. It's like, like how do you just, like my man from Wu-Tang, he just flew all across. he was in what was it, Staten Island, Yonkers, wherever the hell he was, and he just flew all the way across Africa and landed in Asia. I don't get those things. I don't get, how people can just be, but I get it from the standpoint of I understand mental side. I get it how your reason infuses in us and makes us think differently about ourselves and about the world in which we live. I get that. But, I don't understand how you just, you have all this access to different information and you can just act as if it doesn't exist or act as if it's not real, and I don't get that. I'd be like, you have a real defective, white chip in your goddamn head. So, we just, we got a long way to go. But I understand that to combat that, we have to have resistance education. And 100 years in the whirlwind, we have tons. We have 30 world-renowned African-centered scholars from 5 different continents. They're going to have one goal, one aim, and one destiny. I know it's one God, but I want to say one goal. You dig? And that goal is building the resistance education in you and in our babies so we can fight this fight. And we ain't going to stop fighting. Even in the social realm, we still got to be sending energy. We still got to be digging and shivving and slicing and dicing. A machete should be in every home because your gun might jam. So head over to www.dtc1.org. That is www.D as in David Walker, T as in Thomas and Corey, C as in Colin Ferguson, the number 1.org. Hey, if you have not got your admission, you better go get it. But also, I want y'all to be engaged in that Black August 100 miles and running challenge. I'm 15 miles in already, 3 days. I'm going another 5 tomorrow. God damn it. What they say, you can tell who the workers are. I ain't gonna say I'm a leader. You can tell the workers are because they're close to the enemy. Well, right now I'm fighting the enemy within and I'm jugging it. I'm on my pagan heathery so bad that the fat me, he's screaming, yo, please get off me. Let me go, let me live. He gonna be dead real soon. He gonna be dead real soon because I gotta have him. I don't give a damn how much he made my back hurt. I don't give a damn how much my knees hurt. I don't give a damn if I lose toenails. I'm on his ass. And his death is imminent.
So y'all heard all of that intellectual greatness, the soft, the calm, the accommodating brother. Now y'all got a chance to see him face to face today. Figure out why he here. You understand? Why he here with us. And why we here with him. So, yeah, it's going down. It is going down. Brother Aleous Kujichagulia. I just, hey, when I see Kujichag, I got to say it out. They'll be like, hey, that's our brother Kujichagulia. Yeah, say that out loud. Say that's our brother. Like, look, we use words in English like real crazy because we love that these bastard ass crackers use words and then we want to use the words in the way that they use the words. You want to be free. You want to be liberated. You want to be sovereign. You ready to go to war with your enemies. But you do not love yourself. If you ain't never, ever courted or pursued an African woman, you ain't got no business here, African man. You ain't got no business. You don't understand that this process is rough, okay? But it's a labor of love. Like, we are doing what we're doing for the love of African people. You ain't never fell in love with yourself. You ain't never fell in love with yourself. You don't like what you see in the mirror. You can't fall in love with yourself. And when you fall in love with African people, you won't be looking for no fucking allies because you're in love. You understand? That's like you saying, oh, I love my African woman or I love my African man, but you still looking You still looking around. Your eyes are still wondering. You understand? You still looking to be accepted by somebody who can't love you. It's not possible. Love requires some components that your enemies don't have. They love what they own and what they dominate. So for them alpha males and them alpha females, I'm talking to you because you like that. What does it mean to be an alpha male, alpha female? You better do some damn research. You're running around here. Somehow African is not enough. African is not sufficient enough. You understand what I'm saying? Like they need something else. You're in an entanglement with your destroyer. You're in an entanglement with your destroyer. Instead of being in entanglement with your people. If you are not for your people, look, Baba Kwame Ture said, if your mother is getting raped and you stand by and do nothing, you are accomplice to your mother's fate. Mm-hmm. Look at what's happening to our people. Look at what's happening. You understand? Look at what's happening, and you want to participate in any of those acts or actions with our enemies, part or in whole, is treasonous, is treacherous, and is worthy of your demise. And you go wherever the fuck they go when they check out here. So this is a wonderful experience and opportunity to have a short glimpse into the mind of our Baba Aleous Kujichagulia, who answered the call. Bomani in the chat, he delinquent. You know what I'm saying? UFG, you delinquent. You heard? You know. So when you hear that terminology, he understand what I'm saying. He is delinquent. You know, when United Front was coming out with, you know, freestyles every month, and then, you know, a month passed by, a month and a half, I'm like, yo, y'all delinquent. You understand? Like Snoop was in the Wash when he was talking to Dre about that rent. He said, you need to get on that rent, okay? So we need to get our aim together and keep our shot groups tight, you know, and aim with that focus. So, you know, my point in all of that was to say you have to be in love, because when we hear terms and we say, oh, we want to romanticize Africa. You want to romanticize what your ancestors did. They made mistakes. I said, do you know how much of a blessing a mistake is for an African? We keep you hungry. It keep you focused. The stick that I was talking about earlier was to keep you in line. So when you went out of line, pat! That stick got your ass right back in line. Like, oh, I'm slipping. It was an appreciation that went along with it. So that stick or that sword or that arrow, I told you who you were. They had ancient stories that talked about every year they decided if they were going to kill the king or not. One of the great rulers, Shaka Zulu, said there was going to be no more children for a year. And this was supposed to be a patriarchal society. And the sisters say, hey, Shaka got to go. No more babies? Shaka got to go, fam. You understand? So if you're talking about a patriarchal versus matriarchal society, you understand what it really is in the society when it boiled down to it. So the essence of it is they ain't never seen another leader like Shaka Zulu again, or Idi Amin, or Kwame Nkrumah, or what's my brother out of Zimbabwe? What's my brother out of Zimbabwe?
Robert Mugabe.
Robert Mugabe. They ain't never seen him again, and they won't ever see him again. When you take those ones for granted, you won't see him again. You won't see him again. You won't see a Steve Biko again. You won't see a Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad again. You understand? Because when they were amongst you, we had your chance. And this paradigm that we're moving in is a collective effort. So good luck trying to see one of us. You're gonna have to see all of us. So that love, this labor of love, is hard work and sacrifice, it's dedication, it's discipline. But the reward or its detriment, what's at stake? Everything. So just this conference that's there, this that the occupant that has been sounded, and these warriors came and answered this call in this particular warrior month, not the Rainbow Coalition month that y'all like so much for to everybody's. Oh, he made a shoelace, yeah, yeah. Who he sleep with? Oh, who she sleep with? That matters. We for the sanctity of the African family in the future. And if you can't be in love with that, what are you doing? What are you doing? So all of these things are together. So I'm thankful to you, Baba Aleous, for coming through and making it plain. If you have any final remarks, any last words of encouragement, let the family know how to reach you. Let them know what's going on with you and blah blah blah. Okay. Uh, Before we wrap this up.
Um, I'm gonna leave you with this. Dan Friedman said, "Never give up. You either win or you die. We gotta grind. There is no shortcuts. There is no concessions. You either win or you die. You could be in your wheelchair, throw your false teeth at them. Hit them with your cane. Do whatever you can. Be an example of a spear at all times. That's what we're here for. This is the epoch of time that we possess. And if you don't take this time seriously, like you said, like Brother Knowledge Born said, you will end up where your roles go when it's time to transition, wherever that is. If you're serious about doing some work, you can reach me at Aleous Kujichagulia at Gmail or Yahoo. Or you can hit us in the inbox at 100 Years in a Whirlwind at gmail.com. I'm very finicky about, adding people on Facebook because I post a lot of pictures. But once I see you as family, I'll, allow you to come in. I kind of keep my page private because I post a lot of my babies, but it's Aleous Kujichagulia. Make sure that you go by. This idea that myself and Brother Bomani and a host of others have fleshed out is just a moment to spotlight what must be done. It is not the moment. It is not the apex of anything other than we just need to collectively. This is an example of all of the miseducation they give to Africans, are so divisive, or Africans can't organize, or Africans can't unite. Well, this thumbs that all in the eye. This throws that to the ash can of history. So make sure that you're in the number for www.dtc1.org. Make sure you're in the number. Go by there. Make sure you're in the number for 100 Years in a Whirlwind. Because, like I said, we have done our best to make this a global event from the scholarship point of view, but the audience has to do their part and make it a global event. We have some brilliant, beautiful, black-tastic African people that are going to put in their work for 3 days, over 45 hours. We're asking for $1 per hour so that we can make sure that we take care of all our scholars who have done the work. So I'm not trying to get rich off you. I promise you I'm not. I'm married well. But hey, I love each and every one of you sincerely. You can build from love. You can't build from hate. So my conversation is always about us. I'm going to point out those who are wrong, but our conversation is about us. And Abibi Tume, Abibi Fahodie, grab the heaters with no delay. And make sure you're caught up in the whirlwind, August 14th through the 16th. One last thing, every single scholar, every single artist, every single person who helped with production and promotion, designing anything that had anything to do with 100 Years in a Whirlwind. I sincerely thank you. Everybody who has supported, I sincerely thank you. The response to 100 Years in a Whirlwind has been more than I could ever imagine. I'm excited to see how many. I mean, it's because if the audience matches the purchase of the event, you know, this thing is going to be big. It's going to be huge. It's going to be, you know, some next level stuff. So please, if you haven't, you know, gotten your ticket yet, make sure you're in that number. But again, I sincerely love each and every one of you. So always, you know, live African, love Africa, and liberate Africans. Abibi Podier.
Yeah. Now we gonna tell them. That in front. We tell them like this, yo. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a African. Yeah, y'all like that? No more. This man's mind is open. I'm an African. I'm a African. I'm an African. I'm a. Let's get
And
back
that
to
motive
the
is best developed by recognizing the common enemy.